which all consultation we could have thrown some light upon. But right from standards, right from safety to the production and subsidies, testing, certification, ICAT, Dr. Qureshi has covered almost all aspects of what we wish to know. But still there would be some questions from audience, but before audience, they formulate their questions in their mind. Sir, I have a small question. We know that in last 13 years, electric mobility industry has grown from 50 crore rupees first allocation as National E-Mobility Mission Plan to 10,000 crore as FAME. And then during this period, selected, few of them they qualify, few of them they do not qualify. But a significant push and support has been given to the manufacturing sector. And this turned out to be very positive in terms of sales also. But there are still sectors, there are still dynamics and the sub-component and subsets of electric mobility industry who never received FAME, and I think who never received subsidies. I think it's a conclusive consultation which is going on to revise and make it available to many of them. Few of them which I would like to bring in your attention is fleet operators who are giving vehicle to people who do not own an electric vehicle. They have not received anything, any support directly, indirectly from ministry or from NHEV. Second, on the battery side, which was very pertinent and very important, that battery people would receive some. So I think there is significant work is already happening into advanced chemistry cell through SEC and the PLI scheme. The third is charging infrastructure. When it comes to comparing charging infrastructure sector and the other sector of manufacturing of vehicle sector has been more supported rather than charging infrastructure. So I think there is some fine tuning happening, some light if you can throw on this, that where it will go in coming years, where we can see these changes coming.
Yeah, so you have asked three questions in one question. You said I have a small question, but your question is a very large question. So in any case, one of the things you said is that subsidy has not come directly or indirectly to number of sectors in the EV industry. So, I mean, indirectly it has come. So as I said that when subsidies are being given to say some bigger units and the bigger units are established, so we expect that when they source their materials, so in that ecosystem, those suppliers will also get benefited. For example, in PLI Auto, we have 85 applicants, and all the 85 applicants have their tier 1 suppliers. So once the benefit is going to the applicants, some of that will indirectly go to the tier 1 suppliers also. And if you go to tier 2 and tier 3, one tier 3 may be having, when an applicant may be having more than 10,000 tier 3 suppliers. So that is a logistic problem from the ministry's point of view. Only certain number of applicants can be, we can interact with certain number of applicants. And so this is the first of your questions.
यूजर्स पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू से ऐसा कहा जाता है कि सब्सिडीज विड्रॉ कर ली जाएगी तो सेल्स नीचे गिर जाएगी. आई पर्सनली डू नॉट अग्री, बिकॉज आई थिंक यूजर्स कैन बी बेनिफिटेड इन टू कार्बन क्रेडिट मोड ऑल्सो. And Ministry of Power has this year only introduced that we will be very soon setting up the exchange for carbon credit. And if I buy a vehicle into 1 lakh rupees, if 40,000 rupees or 30,000 rupees subsidy is given to me, then it costs me 60,000 rupees, that vehicle. But if I am buying it into 1 lakh rupees without any subsidy, but tomorrow when I am driving that vehicle, I am getting a carbon credit for each kilometer. This is the another way to reach to user.
Yeah, absolutely. Ministry of Environment is working on this carbon credit program, and I think once it comes into operation, that will be a significant push to the people who are using, EVs and cleaner technologies. You also mentioned about the fleet operators. So in FAME, the idea of FAME is to give a push to the shared mobility. So which means buses or 3-wheelers or those 4-wheelers which are used as taxis or in a commercial mode. So indirectly whoever is the fleet operator, he would get the subsidy of FAME. Because once you buy for the purpose of commercial run, then you get the subsidies. But if you buy a four-wheeler for a personal use, then no subsidy is there.
No.
So fleet operators are actually covered in that
That's
way.
new. That's we didn't
Yeah.
know. So you made it easy that if I am not even buying electric vehicle, I will be able to use it,
Yes.
and someone who is buying will be incentivized.
Yes, and see the reason is that if you buy a four-wheeler, electric four-wheeler for your personal use, probably you will not be running that many kilometers. But if it is for a commercial use, then there is a lot of running of the vehicle. So utilization of the vehicle will be there.
And this is for four-wheeler and buses both.
For buses, for EV buses, all buses are incentivized.
Okay.
For four-wheelers, only those four-wheelers which have a commercial use, they
Right.
are incentivized. So are fleet operators. That is why you see the taxis in EVs, there are mostly EVs. In EVs, not there so much in the personal use segment.
Right.
That is because the subsidy is there for fleet operators.
So before I go to audience, is there any microphone? Mic आप दे सकते हैं इधर किसी को पूछने के लिए एक mic भेजिए. Any question which comes, please raise your hand. We will be able to take one or two questions. Before if I see hands, sir, I'll take the opportunity to share one very important reform which was done by Ministry of Road Transport and Highway in 2020. That vehicle and the battery can be now sold separately. It is allowed to sell them separately, and in this scenario, if the 5,500 kilometer national highway corridor which we are creating for the e-highway, these e-highways will have buses, will have fleet operator like Blue Smart and Lithium, Green Cell, and then Switch, Electra. These all companies who are manufacturing these buses would be able to give these buses to the fleet operator only by paying for the bus, not for the battery. And battery can be owned by ACC companies and other who are looking at the battery from the beginning, from the day one birth of the battery till the recycling of the battery. So very well you articulated that recycling policy of refurbish, reuse and then recycle is going to come into that place. So we are doing that pilot to make bus available to people and car available to fleet operators on 70% cost, so that battery can be, on a subscription it can come. You remember a model from Dhiru Bhai Ambani, 500 rupees mobile phone he given to the entire country, and just because upfront cost was very less, people could afford 800 million mobile phone today in India. So for this, I think having this reform of Ministry of Road Transport and Highway and some support for battery subscription can be sought from Ministry of Heavy Industry also.
Yeah, no, absolutely, you're right. But this is only a framework which has been provided by the government. Now the industry needs to come up with viable business models by which you can take this forward. Having just a rule or a policy is not enough. You need the industry to act on it. So the ball is now in your court. You have to come up with how maximum benefit can be taken out of this policy.
Right. Anybody wish to ask a question? Please give microphone to the gentleman.
Hello everyone. Myself Akash Gupta, co-founder at Clean Electric. So we are making lithium-ion battery packs which are safe and liquid cooled. So my question to you, sir, is that जैसे कि सर अभी जो combustion engine vehicle है, so any petrol pump you can fill the fuel and they don't differentiate between a MG car or a Tata car or any car. It's interoperable. तो गवर्नमेंट का एक अच्छा इनिशिएटिव था जो बीच में रुक गया, जो BIS का ETD 51 एक बैटरी स्वैपिंग पॉलिसी जो फॉर्मुलेट हो रही थी, जिसमें 4 स्टैंडर्ड्स थे उसके तहत, और DST भी इन्वॉल्व था इसमें. तो दैट पॉलिसी वाज अबाउट फॉर लाइट इलेक्ट्रिक व्हीकल्स की उसको इंटरऑपरेबल कैसे बनाया जाए, सो दैट अभी जो इंडिपेंडेंट प्राइवेट चार्जिंग इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर या बैटरी स्वैपिंग जो सेटअप हो रहा है वो कॉमन किया जा सके एंड एसेट यूटिलाइजेशन बढ़ाया जा सके. जैसा सर ने बोला कि अपफ्रंट कॉस्ट ही खत्म हो जाएगी अगर बैटरी की 50% कॉस्ट निकाल दें, तो लाइट इलेक्ट्रिक व्हीकल का पेनिट्रेशन आज अगर 3 व्हीलर में 50% है, क्योंकि हम ई रिक्शा काउंट करते हैं. अगर हम L5 देखें तो वो अभी भी सिंगल डिजिट में ही होगा वो पेनिट्रेशन जो है. 2 व्हीलर में 4% है.
Yeah. So your question is why it got discontinued?
why that got dropped off and अगर वो आएगा ही नहीं तो सर इंटरऑपरेबिलिटी के बिना हमारे इतने बड़े देश में जहाँ पे 1000 सिटीज़ हैं और इतने पिन कोड्स हैं तो ये चीज़ स्केल कैसे करेगी? इट इज़ इम्पॉसिबल फॉर अ सिंगल कंपनी, आई डोंट वांट टू नेम इट, बट to put swapping station and it become ubiquitous. Until that happens.
Understood. Very, very well and very important question.
But I only want to add that it has not been dropped. Niti Aayog is, I think they have circulated a draft battery swapping policy. They are working on it and they are taking the views of different ministries on it. I think they would have held some consultations also. It is in the works and we are hopeful that we will have a battery swapping policy.
सर मोका का इसमें एक इंटरवेंशन था मिनिस्ट्री ऑफ कंज्यूमर अफेयर्स की, अगर हम ऐसी पॉलिसी लेके आते हैं जिसमें हम डायमेंशन और कनेक्टर फिक्स करें तो वो इंटरऑपरेबल हो पाएगा, अदरवाइज हो ही नहीं पाएगा. तो लोगों का कहना है कि इससे इनोवेशन किल हो जाएगा.
No, I think this question is very important and we have a session on this. What recommendation we made, what are the bottlenecks which is not letting this policy come into existence are already into our knowledge. Right. The problem is not only with the ministry or with the policy or it can be published. Problem is also lies with the transparency which industry has to bring to turn a ecosystem into a swappable ecosystem. Right now, when a company is having a battery, we exchange their own battery and there are incidents of fire, right?
Right.
4 or 5 incidents of fire I have seen, very critical.
Right.
Tomorrow we are talking about this company battery is going into this company vehicle. There would be a lot of incidents of fire if we do not know the composition of battery, origination of the cell, dimension, their power, their interoperability, their connector, their data. So for this, industry also need to come forward and open their protocol, make it accessible. People will be able to see. If you see the remote control, that TV remote control, there is a battery inside, right? But no remote control is catching fire. It's because they all are same. So that's the kind of transparency is expected, and I believe we also need to ramp up little bit into transparency and into more of open protocol to bring this. Sir, I believe मैंने सही बोला है. वो वहाँ कहीं फंस रहा था, मैं काफी उसमें involved था नीति आयोग के साथ. And
thank you. Any other questions?
Any other question? Please take mic and then identify yourself and keep it to your question so that we can take one more question.
So I'm Tarun, an investor in the EV ecosystem. So I am asking, what is the global standard? You talked about the India, that it is not standardized as of now. So globally, how is it happening?
Global standard, you want to know about the charging or battery?
Battery swapping.
Battery swapping?
Yeah.
I don't think so. There is a universal global standard.
I don't think there is any globally swapping. I mean, even in charging, there are different protocols. CHAdeMO is there. That is a different protocol. CCS is there. That is different. In India, we are mostly following CCS. But CHAdeMO is followed, I think, in Japanese models. So worldwide also, there is no one standard.
So it's tough to do the battery swapping then. Like
yeah, we have a complete session. I want you to stick with this, okay. And we will discuss the toughness, criticality of the drive.
Sir, you mentioned that you envision that through PLI, specifically in auto components, you envision that there'll be a trickle down to tier 1 and tier 2 suppliers and they'll get benefits. Do you also see this trickle down effect in PLI for ACC, for example, cell manufacturing, if specific components like cathode active material or say a electrolyte manufacturer or a separator manufacturer, will they also get the benefits of a company setting up a gigafactory under the PLI scheme, or can they be incentives?
So this will happen in it has a large number of components. So obviously a manufacturer who is basing his facilities in India, it will make sense for him to source as many materials as possible from India, unless there is no ecosystem to make or unless there are no manufacturers to make, in which case he has to import them.
One, lot of manufacturers give more than 4 years warranty on their batteries, and second, the demand for lithium will also increase in the future years because existing vehicles will need to keep getting replaced with new batteries. Okay, thank you. So instead of it being limited to calendar age, is there a way to implement this based on the health of a battery? Like how today for cars we do pollution control certificates and we ask for more certifications? Is there a way to do something similar for batteries?
Acha, so these rules were made by the Ministry of Environment, and I believe a lot of stakeholder consultations were held, but I won't be able to comment on that as of now.
I'm Raghvendra Gupta from IIT Delhi. I want to ask whether question like यहाँ पर different companies हैं जो कि बैटरी पैक असेंबल करते हैं और वो डायरेक्टली इम्प्लीमेंट कर देते हैं, तो गवर्नमेंट का कोई सर्टिफिकेशन प्रोग्राम है जहाँ पर हम नेल पेनिट्रेशन टेस्ट, क्रशिंग टेस्ट वगैरह परफॉर्म करके और उनको सर्टिफाइड करें कि ये सेफ़ है? ऐसी कोई पॉलिसी है या कोई सर्टिफिकेशन प्रोग्राम है?
Saurabh, you would like to answer it?
So we are in an evolving stage, but there is a standard AIS 038 right now which is being worked out, apart from 156 which sir has already mentioned. So, but then these regulations will keep on evolving because the technology is evolving. So each day we'll have a new challenge, and and as sir has also said that technology will take a lead and rest will follow. So the regulations will keep following it. I hope I've answered.
I think with this we have reached to the very enlightening, very interactive session with Joint Secretary, Ministry of Heavy Industry, Dr. Hanif Qureshi. A big round of applause for the knowledgeable exchange of dialogue.